Imagine a world where your thoughts are crimes, where love is punishable, where the truth is whatever the government says it is, and where even the past can be erased. Big Brother is watching you. This isn't science fiction anymore. It's George Orwell's 1984, and it may be closer to our reality than we'd like to admit. Welcome to a world where freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength, and the more you obey, the less you exist. Let's enter the mind of Winston Smith-Westlake, the man who dared to remember in a world that demands you forget. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to BookPodCastZone. I'm Emma.
And I'm John.
We're truly excited to have you join us today for what promises to be, well, a really insightful journey, I think.
Today, we're embarking on a deep dive into George Orwell's 1984. It's a novel that remains just as chillingly prophetic now as it was when it first came out.
Absolutely.
Our mission really is to navigate the intricate layers of this monumental work. We want to pull out the most vital insights, maybe even some surprising facts, and help you understand not just the story, but its profound and, frankly, enduring relevance. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've gone through a fantastic chapter-by-chapter summary, which we'll use as a kind of guidepost. But our goal is definitely to go beyond just a recap.
Right.
We want to draw out the key ideas, connect them to the historical currents Orwell was clearly responding to, and, I think most importantly, explore how his genius continues to, well, echo in our own world today.
It really does.
This isn't just, a book discussion. It's more an opportunity to question the very nature of truth, freedom, individuality, all through the lens of this fictional dystopia that feels sometimes unsettlingly real.
Unsettling is the word. Okay, let's start with part one, The Seeds of Rebellion. And chapter one, the ominous opening of Airstrip 1. I mean, right from those first lines, Orwell just plunges you into this grim, suffocating existence.
Oh, yeah. No holding back.
We meet Winston Smith. He's a low-ranking member of the Outer Party, returning to his really dreary apartment in what used to be Britain, now called Airstrip 1.
Victory Mansions, right.
Which is anything but victorious. Exactly. The irony is thick from the start. And the atmosphere is immediately heavy with oppression, completely dominated by that device, the telescreen. And it's not just like a TV blaring propaganda, is it? It's a two-way mirror. It's constantly watching every move, every twitch.
Every facial expression.
Yeah.
Constant surveillance.
And it's through this chilling piece of tech that we first encounter, or rather feel the presence of Big Brother. This terrifying, unseen figure, the party's leader, and that slogan, Big Brother is watching you. You can almost taste the stale air, feel the dust, the constant fear.
It's an immediate, like you said, visceral punch. And what makes this opening so powerful, I think, is Winston's quiet, almost desperate act of defiance amidst all this total surveillance.
The diary.
The diary, yeah. He gets hold of this diary, this beautiful old book, and he starts writing in it. He knows perfectly well that this simple private act is a massive crime. It's thought crime, punishable by death or, worse, by the thought police. So the diary isn't just a book. It's like this fragile flicker of independent thought in a world designed to completely forbid it. It's him literally reclaiming his inner self, his own reality, against a regime that wants to control even like the nuances of his consciousness.
It's huge.
It is. And this act, this fundamental rebellion, immediately sets up the core conflict for the whole story, doesn't it? It's the individual struggling against this omnipotent state that basically wants to erase personal identity.
And the psychological toll, you mentioned it. Living under that constant watch.
It must be immense.
Yeah.
It forces this deep internal suppression. You police your own thoughts before anyone else can. It erodes trust completely, fosters this pervasive paranoia.
Yeah, that fear is almost palpable. It feels like another character in the room. It's not just about, physical punishment later on. It's about breaking your spirit right now, making you censor yourself constantly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How much could someone really take before they just break?
It makes you wonder. I'm thinking about the historical context. Orwell, writing again in 1949.
Yeah, right after the war.
He's clearly reflecting those massive post-World War II anxieties, isn't he? Especially about authoritarian regimes that had just, ravaged Europe.
Oh, absolutely. The parallels to Stalin's Soviet Union, Nazi Germany, they're undeniable. You think about Stalin's purges, millions just vanishing. Or the cult of personality around figures like Hitler, constantly amplified by state propaganda, secret police like the Gestapo.
Right.
The telescreen, for example, it wasn't just plucked from thin air. It was Orwell's terrifying extrapolation of emerging surveillance tech from that era, radios, early television. He just took it a step further.
And Big Brother himself.
Yeah, a chilling echo of those real-world cult-like leaders. Their images, their slogans plastered everywhere, demanding total loyalty.
And it's not just history, is it? That's the scary part. When we think about modern surveillance, even right here in the U.S., it's different, maybe less overtly totalitarian, but think about home security. Ring doorbells, maybe linked to police networks. The line between private security and public monitoring gets kind of blurry.
It really does. And smart speakers. Alexa, Google Home, they're basically always listening, processing our conversations. Often, without us actively thinking about it.
Yeah, you just accept it as part of the house.
And beyond that, tech companies, social media platforms, apps, they're engaged in this massive data collection, monitoring our behavior, our preferences, even our emotional states to build these incredibly detailed profiles. It's not state-mandated surveillance in the same way, maybe, but it's definitely pervasive. A constant digital observation shaping our lives.
And that leads to the whole algorithmic control issue, right?
Precisely. These algorithms now have a profound influence on the information we see. Our news feeds, suggested content. It can easily create these echo chambers, limiting exposure to different views, subtly shaping our thoughts. It's a bit like propaganda, but maybe sneakier because it feels personalized.
Yeah, tailored just for you.
And thinking about thought crime today. Look at online cancel culture, or deplatforming. Now, it's obviously distinct from state-enforced thought policing, very different context. But expressing certain opinions online, even legal ones, can lead to really severe professional or social consequences. That pressure for ideological conformity, even without direct state muscle behind it, can feel immense sometimes.
It's a striking parallel, isn't it? How social pressure online can feel like its own kind of policing. Public opinion as judge and jury, that chilling effectiveness of the surveillance in 1984, it just perfectly sets the stage for a world where fear and control are the main tools used to stifle any kind of individuality.
It hooks you right in.
Absolutely. Okay, let's subscribe and share for more updates, and let's continue to the next chapter.
Let's do it.
Okay, moving on to chapter 2, the indoctrination of innocence. So, Winston's grim apartment life gets interrupted briefly. His neighbor, Mrs. Parsons, needs help with a clogged sink, very mundane.
Yeah, very ordinary problem in an extraordinary world.
But it's her children that really send a chill down your spine. They're playing, but they're playing at being junior spies, mimicking the party's surveillance.
It's horrifying.
And there's this moment, it's playful but also really menacing, where they accuse Winston of thought crime. It's chilling because it just shows how completely they've absorbed the party ideology. Even their games are corrupted.
Utterly. And Winston has this grim realization, doesn't he, about how pervasive betrayal is in this society, where even kids are essentially weaponized. Unwittingly, maybe, but still weaponized against their own community, maybe even their own parents eventually.
Yeah, the foreshadowing is intense.
That scene is terrifying because it just lays bare how deeply propaganda seeps into everything, infecting the youngest minds. Orwell shows us how these children are systematically molded into these unwitting tools of surveillance and enforcement.
Like little extensions of the state?
Exactly. And this brings up that devastating theme of betrayal, not just personal failing, but a societal norm. Loyalty to Big Brother trumps everything, every other human bond. The party aims for total control over the family unit, severing those traditional allegiances, making devotion to Big Brother paramount, even above love for your parents.
It's a horrific vision, turning innocence into an instrument of control.
It really is. And when you look at the historical context, the echoes are, again, undeniable. We saw real-world youth movements, the Hitler Youth in Nazi Germany, the Soviet Young Pioneers,
right,
where regimes actively molded children from a super young age into loyal enforcers, informants, little propagandists for the state. Orwell's critique in 49 was a direct, urgent warning about how totalitarian systems exploit that innocence, manipulate kids' natural curiosity, and fundamentally sever those deep family bonds to maintain power.
So how does that connect to today? And in the U.S., for example, it's different, obviously. No state youth groups like that.
No, definitely not the same structure. But think about youth activism and social media. Kids and teens are increasingly exposed to, and sometimes mobilized by, highly politicized content online. This can lead to very strong ideological adherence, sometimes online shaming of those with different views. It creates powerful echo chambers, even if they're not state-mandated. The peer pressure, the algorithms, they can be incredibly influential.
It makes sense.
And then there's the whole see something, say something culture, Its intent is obviously safety, security.
Of course.
But extreme interpretations in some contexts could inadvertently foster an environment of suspicion. People encouraged to report on neighbors, classmates for perceived wrongdoing. It subtly echoes the role of the junior spies, that culture of informing.
I see the connection. And what about political polarization?
That's another angle. The increasing polarization we see in the U.S. sometimes creates these significant rifts within families, right? Strong political identities, fierce loyalties can sometimes supersede basic familial bonds. Again, it's not state-mandated loyalty, like in the book, but the societal pressure to align and the resulting fragmentation within families. It reflects a subtle, less extreme version of that ideological division Orwell was writing about.
Yeah, you hear stories about that. Families torn apart over politics.
Exactly. That unsettling energy from the Parsons kids, their accusations, and Winston's palpable dread in that scene. It's really memorable. A stark reminder of how effectively regimes can corrupt human connections and weaponize trust, turning even the innocent into instruments of control.
Chilling stuff. Okay, everyone, please like, subscribe, and share for more updates. Let's continue to the next chapter.
Sounds good.
All right, Chapter 3, The Fragility of Memory and the Fury of Hate. This chapter really plunges us deep into Winston's inner world. We get these vivid, almost hallucinatory dreams he has of his mother and sister.
Yeah, the ones who vanished during the purges.
Exactly. These fragmented, bittersweet echoes of his childhood memories stand in such stark contrast to the grim, desolate present he lives in. And then, boom, we're thrust into the spectacle of the 2 minutes hate.
Visceral is the word for that.
Totally. It's this daily ritual of collective, orchestrated rage, all meticulously directed at the party's supposed main enemy, Emmanuel Goldstein, this figure of perpetual dissent, the ultimate scapegoat. And Winston finds himself struggling with his own reaction to it. He feels repelled by the savagery, but also, disturbingly, he gets swept up in the collective frenzy. It scares him.
That struggle with memory is so crucial, isn't it? Winston's desperate effort to remember life before the party, to hold on to those fragments. It's a profound act of defiance against the party's control over the past, over the narrative.
Because if you control the past,
You control the present and the future.
Yeah.
Memory is a direct threat to that control. And the 2 minutes hate. It's just a masterclass in emotional manipulation. Orwell shows how effectively the party channels all that collective rage and fear, uses it as a unifying force, controls the population, and deflects any potential dissent away from itself. Goldstein isn't just an enemy. He's a meticulously crafted scapegoat, essential for maintaining internal cohesion and justifying the party's extreme measures, the constant state of war.
it's a chilling psychological tactic. And historically, the parallels are, again, just stark. You immediately think of those massive Nazi rallies, right? Scapegoating Jewish people, other minorities, whipping up this furious, unified base.
Definitely. Or Stalin's public purges and show trials in the Soviet Union, designed to publicly demonize perceived enemies, reinforce the party's absolute power. Orwell, writing right after WWII, was keenly aware of that immense power of emotional manipulation through state-controlled media, through these orchestrated public displays. It's a powerful warning about how easily mass emotions can be weaponized.
So how does that translate to today? Do we see echoes of the 2 minutes hate in the U.S. now?
Well, you could argue there are parallels. Think about some political rallies or media campaigns. They often use really emotionally charged rhetoric to demonize specific groups or political opponents, right? The aim is often to unify a base through shared anger or fear, creating that powerful us versus them mentality that definitely echoes the 2 minutes hate.
Yeah, that language can get really intense.
And we also see these memory wars playing out. Intense debates over how historical events are taught, or commemorated controversies around teaching critical race theory, arguments about historical monuments.
Right, those debates are constant.
At their core, these are struggles over who controls the narrative of the past, how collective memory can be contested and manipulated for current political ends. It's a fight over history itself.
And it's not just traditional media either, is it?
Yeah.
What about online?
That's a huge one. The phenomenon of online hate mobs. These instances where online communities or social media trends just coalesce into these rapid, intense periods of public shaming or pile-ons against individuals or groups, often fueled by outrage, a shared sense of grievance against some perceived enemy. It's decentralized maybe, but incredibly powerful. A digital surge of collective hatred.
Yeah, things can escalate online incredibly fast.
The visceral intensity of the 2 minutes hate in Orwell's description, capturing that frightening crowd frenzy,
Yeah.
it really sticks with you. It's his profound insight into how regimes weaponize hatred that makes it resonate so deeply with contemporary social and political dynamics. A stark reminder of our capacity for orchestrated fury.
Truly powerful writing. Okay, remember to like, subscribe, and share for more updates as we continue to the next chapter.
Onwards.
Let's turn our focus to Chapter 4, The Erasing of Truth at the Ministry of Truth. Okay, this chapter is where we really grasp the party's insidious control over reality itself. We see Winston's job, his soul-crushing job at the Ministry of Truth.
Ironic name, right?
Totally. His daily task is meticulously altering historical records, rewriting newspaper articles, revising party documents, all to perfectly align with whatever the current party propaganda dictates. It's not just, like, admin work. It's systematic, institutionalized, lying on an industrial scale.
Yeah, the scale of it is staggering. It highlights the party's absolute, almost pathological obsession with controlling the past. Because as we said, by controlling the past, they control the present and therefore the future.
And we see his colleagues, like Tillotson.
The ones who just blindly follow orders.
Right. They embody that unquestioning loyalty, which just further isolates Winston in his own doubts, makes his internal struggle even sharper.
That's exactly it. What's profoundly unsettling here is how Orwell exposes truth as this completely fluid concept. He shows the absolute erasure of objective truth as the cornerstone of totalitarianism. In Oceania, truth isn't based on facts or evidence. It's simply whatever the party decrees right now, no matter how wildly it contradicts yesterday's truth.
Doublethink in action.
Precisely. And Winston's job lays bare the horrifying absurdity, but also the immense power of that information control. By controlling the past, the party controls memory and therefore reality itself.
Yeah.
And for Winston, think about the psychological burden. The complicity.
Oh, yeah.
Performing that job every day knowing it's all a fundamental lie, a daily act of erasing the very fabric of reality, it must be agonizing.
And it's not just fiction. Historically, this has chillingly direct parallels, doesn't it?
Frighteningly so. Think about Stalinist regimes in the USSR, infamous for literally airbrushing purged officials from photos, routinely rewriting history books to suit the shifting party line. What was fact yesterday could be obliterated today, replaced by a new truth.
Erased from existence.
Completely. Orwell in 49 was tapping right into those widespread anxieties of the early Cold War, the very real fear of governments controlling narrative, censoring information, manipulating public perception as a primary tool of power.
So how does this connect to today, the whole Ministry of Truth idea?
Well, the prevalence of fake news and sophisticated disinformation campaigns, especially online, is a huge concern, right? The challenge of sorting factual information from deliberate lies is more complex than ever. It creates an environment where it's a constant struggle to know what's genuinely real.
It feels overwhelming sometimes.
It can. And then we have those ongoing historical reevaluations we talked about. Passionate debates about how history is taught or presented in public spaces, statues, historical figures, events like the Civil War. These are fundamentally struggles over who controls the narrative of the past. It mirrors Winston's work, in a way, a fight over the story we tell ourselves.
And the media landscape.
Yeah.
It plays a role, too.
Absolutely. Different media outlets can frame the exact same event in vastly different ways. Dyslexic omissions, distinct emotional tones. It leads to this highly fragmented sense of reality. Depending on your news source, your truth can be totally different from someone else's. It creates these ideological silos, making a shared objective reality much harder to find.
Yeah, everyone's in their own bubble.
The chilling, methodical tone Orwell uses to describe Winston's work, underscoring his growing unease as he falsifies records. It really captures that internal conflict. His masterful analysis of how truth becomes the ultimate casualty of power makes this chapter a chilling and profoundly relevant reflection on information control today. Still so unsettling.
Definitely. All right, folks, please hit like, subscribe, and share for more updates. We're moving on to the next chapter now.
Let's talk Newspeak.
Yes. Chapter 5, The Language of Control. Newspeak. This chapter introduces Syme. He's this expert linguist working on the 11th edition of the Newspeak dictionary.
Very enthusiastic about his work, too. Almost disturbingly so.
Right. During a lunch conversation with Winston, Syme enthusiastically explains the party's new language. He describes how Newspeak is meticulously designed to shrink the range of thought. By systematically eliminating words, pruning the vocabulary, the goal is to make rebellious or independent ideas literally impossible to even conceive.
The terrifying concept. If you don't have the words for something, can you even think it?
Exactly. And Winston, ever the keen observer under that detached surface, He suspects that Syme's intelligence, his clear understanding of Newspeak's ultimate insidious purpose, even though he seems loyal, makes him a target for the party.
Because he understands too much.
Precisely. And then, in contrast, Winston observes Parsons. Dull, unthinking loyalty, presented as the ideal party member, the opposite of Syme's dangerous intellect.
That concept, linguistic determinism, is the absolute core here. Newspeak is revealed as the ultimate tool of control, not through force, but by limiting the very vocabulary available for thought. The logic is chillingly simple. Can't say it, can't think it.
Mind control through language.
Pretty much. And this shows Orwell exploring the threat of intellectual freedom itself. Genuine intelligence, critical thinking, grasping underlying truths. These are direct threats to authoritarian control. That's why Syme, despite his dedication, is doomed. He gets how the system works on a fundamental level. This chapter powerfully underscores the immense power of language, how it shapes our perception of reality, and either limits or expands our capacity for complex thought, nuance, and ultimately, rebellion.
It's a profound idea, isn't it? The words we use can literally trap or liberate our minds, and historically, we've seen regimes try to control language, haven't we?
Oh, definitely. Think of Nazi propaganda simplifying complex issues into simplistic emotional slogans and catchphrases, effectively narrowing the range of acceptable thought. Or Soviet attempts to control political discourse through prescribed terminology, forcing citizens to use specific jargon that reinforced party ideology. Orwell's critique in 49 was a stark warning against emerging forms of censorship and ideological control over communication, especially relevant during the early Cold War, where language itself was a battleground.
So, parallels today. How might Newspeak show up in the U.S.?
Well, it's subtle, but consider ongoing debates around political correctness and censorship. There are big conversations about which words or phrases become taboo in public discourse and the impact this has on free speech, academic freedom, expressing nuanced ideas without fear of social backlash. It can feel like a subtle way of limiting expression.
Yeah, those debates get heated.
And think about corporate or bureaucratic jargon. Specialized language, corporate buzzwords, government acronyms, academic jargon can often obscure meaning, limit critical engagement from outsiders, or just alienate people. In a way, it creates a kind of de facto newspeak by making ideas inaccessible or reinforcing a specific worldview.
Like a code only insiders understand.
Exactly. And the ongoing evolution of language around things like gender, race, identity, the fervent debates around changing terminology, and how these changes either expand understanding or, some argue, restrict it. It's a fascinating modern parallel to how language shapes not just our thoughts, but our social structures and self-perception.
Language is constantly evolving.
That moment where Syme is so enthusiastically explaining Newspeak, it's truly ominous. You can almost hear him articulating the mechanism of his own potential downfall. Orwell's profound analysis into how language shapes thought deeply resonates with modern debates on communication, free speech, and the inherent power of words. Eye-opening and deeply unsettling.
Absolutely. Okay, quick reminder to like, subscribe, and share for more updates. Let's press on to the next chapter.
Chapter 6.
Chapter 6, The Suppression of Desire. Here we delve into Winston's very personal, raw reflections. He writes in his diary about a past, rather grim encounter with a prostitute.
Yeah, not a pleasant memory.
No. And this memory leads him to this broader, much more unsettling reflection on the party's systematic, almost clinical suppression of sexual desire, and really any form of intimate human connection that isn't explicitly directed towards the party itself.
It's chillingly clear their stance.
Yeah.
Promote celibacy except for procreation.
Exactly. They view genuine love, passion, personal relationships as profound threats to absolute loyalty, to ideological purity. Any rival devotion is dangerous.
This is a truly chilling aspect of Orwell's vision. He examines how the party extends control to the most private, fundamental human desires, replacing personal love and passion with this singular, all-consuming devotion to Big Brother.
No room for anything else.
None. So in this context, any act of seeking genuine intimacy or pleasure outside the party's rules automatically becomes an act of defiance, a rebellion against a regime trying to mechanize human existence, strip away individuality.
And the effect is dehumanizing.
Palpably so. The absence of genuine human connection contributes massively to the bleakness, the emotional sterility of this society.
It shows that totalitarian control isn't just political power, it's total social, even personal dominion. And historically, this isn't pure fantasy, right? We've seen regimes try to control private lives.
Definitely. Echoes of puritanical or ultra-conservative elements in various authoritarian regimes. Soviet restrictions on personal freedoms, expressions of individuality, strict moral codes imposed by certain religious or ideological states throughout history, dictating everything from dress to intimate relationships. Orwell, in 49, was clearly critiquing how regimes invade private lives, control relationships, dictate bodily autonomy as a means of control.
So, contemporary parallels in the U.S. Where do we see echoes of suppressing desire or controlling intimacy?
Well, look at the ongoing debates around reproductive rights. These are intense discussions, legal battles over bodily autonomy, access to contraception, the definition of family. These issues undeniably touch on the extent of government influence over private sexual decisions and personal choices. It raises big questions about individual freedom in deeply personal areas.
Right, those are major ongoing debates.
And you also see historical and contemporary social movements, sometimes called purity culture, that actively promote strict sexual morality or celibacy. Now, it's not state-mandated, like in the book, but these movements can influence public policy, school curricula, and exert significant social pressure to conform to specific intimate behaviors.
Social pressure can be powerful.
And then there are efforts to regulate or censor online content related to sexuality or intimacy, often framed as protecting children, which is important, but sometimes it extends to consensual adult expression. This raises questions about control over private desire, free exchange of information, mirroring, in a different medium, the party's attempts to control even private experience.
It's a complex area.
The profound loneliness, the personal nature of Winston's diary entry, that somber tone really makes you feel the weight of his suppressed desires. Orwell's insightful analysis into how regimes exploit and try to control human connection feels raw, universal, and incredibly relatable in its exploration of human vulnerability. Truly poignant.
Very much so. Okay, let's keep going. A quick reminder to like, subscribe, and share for more updates, and we'll move to the next chapter.
Chapter 7 it is.
Chapter 7, The Untapped Potential of the Proles. This is a really significant section. Winston engages in these deep, often quite despairing reflections on the proles.
The vast working-class majority.
Right, who live largely outside the party's direct, omnipresent control. They have this relative freedom from constant telescreen surveillance, which seems almost unbelievable in this world.
A different reality almost.
Yet, despite this freedom, they seem to have this profound lack of political awareness. No consciousness needed to organize and rebel. Winston clings to this desperate belief that the only hope for real revolution lies in their sheer numbers.
If there is hope, it lies in the proles.
Exactly. But his hope is constantly undermined by his despair at their apparent apathy, their distraction by trivial things, the lottery, cheap gin, sentimental songs.
Bread and circuses, essentially.
Pretty much. He even tries to find historical truth in a children's history book, looking for some clue about the past, only to realize, again, all records, even kids' stories, are systematically falsified by the party.
It's a fascinating paradox, isn't it? Orwell portrays the proles as embodying this untapped revolutionary potential. They are, in essence, the freest people in Oceania, retaining a kind of raw, uncorrupted humanity, if only they can realize their collective power.
They could overthrow the party.
Exactly. But Orwell's critique here is really about how the masses are kept ignorant and compliant, not primarily through brute force, but through subtle, insidious distraction. Cheap alcohol, porn, lotteries, popular entertainment, all carefully managed to keep them docile, disengaged.
Manipulation through distraction.
Precisely. Winston's frustration with their apathy, despite their numbers, underscores the tragic effectiveness of the party's control. It's the despair of ignorance, where even freedom doesn't lead to liberation if consciousness is missing.
It's a powerful, disheartening observation, how easily populations can be controlled by distraction. And this draws from Orwell's own observations, right? Class divides in Britain, the Soviet situation.
Absolutely. His observations of class in post-war Britain and the Soviet exploitation of the working class, the very group supposedly driving the revolution, yet often the most oppressed and manipulated. Orwell's warning in 49 was stark. Ruling elites could maintain control over the masses through a cultivated state of ignorance and relentless distraction, stopping them from ever challenging the status quo.
So, applying that to the U.S. today, where do we see parallels to the proles and their situation?
Well, think about voter apathy and political disengagement. Significant portions of the population often don't participate in elections or remain largely disengaged from political processes, even when issues directly affect them. It's a pervasive apathy that can disempower collective action.
Yeah, voter turnout is often disappointingly low.
And then there's the overwhelming prevalence of entertainment culture, social media, streaming, reality TV, sports. These can, intentionally or not, serve as huge distractions from pressing societal issues, keeping citizens from engaging critically challenging power structures.
Escapism on a massive scale.
It can be. And finally, consider economic inequality and disempowerment. When large economic disparities exist, they can often lead to a sense of powerlessness, apathy among working-class populations. The daily struggle for survival can make collective action or revolutionary thought seem futile, a distant dream. It's a form of control through exhaustion and distraction.
Makes sense, keeping people focused on just getting by.
The poignant mix of hope and frustration Winston feels as he thinks about the prole's potential versus their passivity, it really resonates. Orwell's insightful analysis into how apathy enables oppression is a stark warning for societies today, where information overload can ironically lead to disengagement. Very relevant.
Incredibly so. Okay, reminder once more. Like, subscribe, and share for more updates. Let's move to Chapter 8.
All right, relics of the past.
Chapter 8. Relics of a Lost World. Here, Winston takes the solitary walk into the Prole district. He's driven by this deep, desperate need to find some tangible connection to the past, a piece of truth that hasn't been erased.
A physical link to what was lost?
Exactly. He visits a pub, tries talking to an old man, hoping to glean some authentic memories about life before the party. But it's futile. The memories are too fragmented, unreliable. No coherent truth emerges.
The past is truly elusive.
But this fruitless quest leads him to an antique shop, and there he finds something truly profound and symbolic. He buys this beautiful but functionally useless glass paperweight with a piece of coral inside.
That paperweight, it's so significant.
Isn't it? He's drawn to its inherent beauty, its craftsmanship, its undeniable link to a forgotten, more humane past. Buying it is more than just a purchase. It's a subtle, deeply personal act of rebellion against the party's purely utilitarian, functional, bleak aesthetic. A defiance against ugliness.
The paperweight is such a potent symbol. It represents Winston's deep longing for that lost world, a time of beauty for beauty's sake, individuality, intrinsic value. A reality totally distinct from the party's manufactured functional one.
Something real.
Something real. And Orwell highlights how pure beauty, personal objects with no practical use, individual expression, these inherently threaten totalitarian uniformity and its cold functional worldview. They embody the very humanity the party wants to crush, and Winston's failure to get clear memories from the old man, it just painfully underscores how thoroughly the party has erased or distorted the past, even in the freer prole areas, the elusive nature of truth, the difficulty of reconstructing it. It's devastating.
It feels like a lament for a lost era. Historically, this chapter vividly evokes images of post-war Britain, doesn't it? Bombed-out slums, a sense of decay.
Definitely. And the paperweight, in that context, symbolizes this profound nostalgia for pre-totalitarian culture, a bygone era of individuality, craftsmanship, simple pleasures. Orwell's 49 lens here is a poignant elegy for the loss of cultural heritage, personal history, the joy of independent thought and beauty under oppression, a warning against a future where everything is strictly functional, soulless.
So, connections to today. How do we see this longing for relics or beauty as resistance in the U.S.?
Well, think about movements to preserve historic sites and culture, efforts to save old buildings, traditional crafts, cultural practices against modernization or commercialization. In a way, it's about maintaining connections to a past that defines identity, much like Winston's longing.
Protecting heritage.
Exactly. And we also see that fascinating revival of analog technologies, vinyl records, film photography, vintage objects. It can be seen as a kind of countercultural move against the purely digital, mass-produced world, a longing for tangible, unique items with a story, a connection to a specific time.
Yeah, vinyl's made a huge comeback.
It has. And on a smaller scale, think about community gardens or farmers markets. Often gentle, maybe unconscious, acts of resistance against corporate uniformity or anonymous city life. They create spaces for human connection, self-sufficiency, a focus on intrinsic value, like the small comforts Winston finds in the Prole district. Little havens of authenticity.
Those are great examples, small acts of reclaiming something real.
The vivid description of the antique shop, the paperweight, it really immerses you in Winston's fleeting hope and discovery. Orwell's profound analysis of how even small, seemingly insignificant acts of defiance, like appreciating beauty, can carry immense weight and symbolize powerful internal resistance against oppression. It's profoundly moving, speaks to the resilience of the human spirit.
Beautifully put. All right, that wraps up part 1. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share for more updates. We're heading into part 2 next.
Forbidden love and rising hope.
Okay, part 2. Things get complicated.
Definitely. Let's dive into part 2, chapter 1. The Spark of Forbidden Love. This is where Winston's personal rebellion takes on this incredibly dangerous but also deeply human new dimension. We see the secretive start of his illicit affair with Julia.
A fascinating character. Very different from Winston.
Totally. She's bold, pragmatic, refreshingly direct, especially in her sexual confidence. Their secret meetings, initially just passing notes in a crowded square. It directly defies the party's omnipresent surveillance. Just arranging to meet is a huge risk.
Immense risk.
And it immediately highlights Julia's pragmatic focus, small, personal pleasures, individual acts of defiance, which contrasts sharply with Winston's broader, more idealistic desire for, overthrowing the whole system.
This is a truly pivotal turn. What's so captivating is how Orwell elevates love itself into a revolutionary act. In a world forbidding true intimacy, personal connection, love, especially physical intimacy, becomes the ultimate defiance, a reclaiming of fundamental humanity.
An act of pure rebellion.
Absolutely. And the dynamic between Julia's focus on small, almost hedonistic rebellions, stolen food, illicit sex, and Winston's deeper longing for systemic change shows that resistance can manifest in profoundly different yet equally valid ways.
Right, there isn't just one way to resist.
And the thrill of transgression is palpable, isn't it? The danger, the excitement inherent in their forbidden affair, it amplifies its significance hugely. Every stolen moment feels monumental.
It shows that even in the most oppressive places, the human need for connection just can't be stamped out. Historically, this relationship reflects Orwell's observation of state intrusion into private lives, right?
Yes, those post-war fears were very real. Soviet bans on unsanctioned unions, strict moral codes in totalitarian states, governments sticking their noses into personal relationships. In 49, portraying love as political rebellion was a powerful, often dangerous assertion against totalitarian control. It challenged their power by asserting individual autonomy in its most intimate form.
So parallels today, how does forbidden love or connection play out in the U.S. context?
Well, think about online dating platforms and subcultures. They create spaces for people to connect and form relationships that might defy traditional norms or expectations in their local communities, like LGBTQ+ relationships in conservative areas, or cross-cultural relationships finding common ground online. It's a modern way to find connection outside mainstream expectations.
Finding your tribe online.
Kind of. And you also see underground social gatherings, secret parties, invitation-only meetups operating outside mainstream surveillance, creating discrete spaces for expression or connection that might not be openly sanctioned, reminiscent of speakeasies or other historical clandestine gatherings.
Creating private spaces.
Exactly. And then there's the ongoing struggle for personal privacy in the digital age, mass data collection, surveillance. Individuals actively seeking ways to maintain private communications and relationships outside the scrutiny of big tech or governments, using encrypted messaging, VPNs, being mindful of digital footprints. It's a constant battle for digital autonomy, for the right to a private life, mirroring Winston and Julia's physical search for privacy.
The need for privacy is fundamental.
The palpable tension as Winston and Julia first connect, sparking excitement but also deep fear, it really puts you on edge with them. Orwell's insightful analysis of how love, in its purest, defiant form, resists control, makes their affair a thrilling and profoundly human turning point, masterful and universally resonant.
Couldn't agree more. Okay, hit like, subscribe, and share if you're enjoying this deep dive. Let's move to the next chapter.
Chapter 2, The Countryside.
Chapter 2, A Fleeting Glimpse of Freedom. In this chapter, Winston and Julia manage to meet secretly in this secluded spot in the countryside, finally away from the prying eyes of the telescreens.
A rare moment of true privacy.
It feels like it. It's a moment of profound intimacy, physical and emotional. It feels like this significant victory, a rare triumph over the party's relentless control. Yet, there's this poignant underlying awareness, especially for Winston, that their rebellion, this precious stolen moment of freedom, it's inherently temporary, incredibly precarious, beautiful, yes, but fragile.
That fragility is key. What's impactful is how Orwell portrays their intimacy as this powerful act of reclaiming human dignity, natural instinct, the very essence the party wants to erase. And the countryside itself becomes a sanctuary.
Yeah, it feels pure.
It symbolizes a lost freedom, a pristine space untouched by the party's urban decay and tech surveillance, a return to an uncorrupted natural state. But it's also the bittersweet nature of their rebellion that resonates. The stark realization that even the most profound personal victories are ultimately doomed, precarious under an omnipresent totalitarian regime.
That sense of escape into nature really highlights how artificial and oppressive the city, Airstrip 1, is. Historically, that rural escape evoked post-war Britain's nostalgia for simpler times, natural beauty, right? A sharp contrast to the oppressive urban surveillance.
Definitely. Orwell's 49 perspective serves as a poignant warning about the fleeting nature of freedom and privacy under an all-encompassing state. It underscores just how precious and rare those moments of true autonomy are.
So, contemporary U.S. examples. Where do people seek that kind of sanctuary today?
Well, the enduring appeal of national parks, wilderness areas, escaping to remote nature to disconnect from tech, societal pressures, seeking peace and privacy, it's a huge part of American culture.
Getting away from it all.
Exactly. And then there's the growing trend of digital detox movements. People consciously unplugging from devices, social media to reclaim personal time, mental space, deliberately creating private zones in an increasingly connected, often surveilled world.
Setting boundaries with technology.
And it extends to individuals or small groups choosing more isolated, self-sufficient communities. Off-grid living. A conscious decision to escape the demands and surveillance of mainstream society, aiming for greater autonomy, a disconnection from the constant noise, seeking their own form of sanctuary.
Finding different ways to escape.
The narration in this chapter perfectly balances that warmth and tension, makes their stolen moment feel incredibly bittersweet, fragile. You feel the sun, but also sense the party's shadow. Orwell's insightful analysis of how love, even briefly, can powerfully resist oppression and reclaim fundamental human experience. It feels universally resonant, really impactful.
It really does. Okay, remember to like, subscribe, and share. Let's continue to the next chapter.
Chapter 3, Different Approaches.
Chapter 3, Different Paths to Rebellion. As their affair deepens, Winston and Julia keep seeking out hidden places for their secret meetings. And we start to understand Julia's distinctive approach more. It's intensely practical, almost hedonistic.
Yeah, focused on the here and now.
Right. She enjoys small pleasures, stolen chocolate, illicit sex, black market luxuries. She focuses on individual acts of defiance, not grand political schemes or abstract ideals. Her pragmatism often clashes with Winston's deeper, more idealistic desire for broader political resistance, overthrowing the party.
A fundamental difference in how they see rebellion.
Exactly. But despite these different approaches, their bond deepens through their shared forbidden acts. It shows that a powerful connection can transcend ideological differences, disparate motivations.
This contrast is one of Orwell's most brilliant choices. He presents two distinct yet equally valid forms of resistance. Julia's personal rebellion, hedonism, self-gratification versus Winston's political rebellion, truth-seeking, systemic change. It illustrates that defiance can manifest in many ways. From the grand challenge to the intimate personal act of pleasure.
Yeah, resistance isn't monolithic.
And their deepening bond, despite these differences, powerfully highlights how shared experience, intimacy, can be an incredibly potent force against a dehumanizing regime. It also forces us to ask, what are the limits of individual action? Is one form of rebellion ultimately more effective or sustainable in a totalitarian state?
That's a great question. No easy answer. Historically, their affair reflects the varied forms of underground resistance, doesn't it? Secret dissent, small acts of sabotage, quiet refusal to conform, things seen in Nazi-occupied Europe or Soviet states.
Absolutely. Orwell's exploration in 49 was a nuanced look at diverse human responses to overwhelming oppression, from direct defiance to quiet, personal subversion aimed at preserving one's inner world.
So parallels today in the U.S., different paths to rebellion?
Sure. Think about consumer boycotts or ethical consumption. Individuals resisting corporate practices or political stances through purchasing decisions. Focusing on personal ethical choices rather than large-scale activism, that's a form of individual rebellion.
Voting with your wallet.
Kind of.
Yeah.
And you see subversive art and culture. Artists or movements creating works challenging mainstream narratives or norms in subtle ways, offering alternative perspectives without direct political confrontation. Quiet, powerful dissent beneath the surface.
Art as resistance.
And personal privacy movements. People adopting encrypted communication, privacy tools, not necessarily for grand political aims, but simply to protect their personal autonomy and data from corporate or government intrusion. A pragmatic, personal choice to resist surveillance, very much in Julia's spirit.
Protecting your own space.
The intimate, urgent narration captures their stolen moments perfectly, emphasizing the secrecy, the emotional depth. You feel the thrill, the danger. Orwell's insightful analysis of how rebellion takes many forms, from grand to mundane, keeps you hooked by showing the nuanced human response to oppression. Makes you ponder how you might resist.
It really does. Okay, reminder to like, subscribe, and share. Moving on.
Chapter 4, The Sanctuary.
Chapter 4, The Fragile Sanctuary. Winston makes this huge decision. Hopeful, but incredibly precarious. He rents a private room above Mr. Charrington's antique shop.
The place with the paperweight.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Intending it as a secret meeting place for him and Julia. In this small, hidden space, they try to create this fragile sanctuary, surrounding themselves with comforting relics, the paperweight, old furniture, trying to find a sense of normalcy, privacy, intimacy, a real refuge.
The bubble of freedom.
But there's this constant underlying tension, the knowledge that party telescreens, omnipresent surveillance still loom nearby, always a threat, making their haven incredibly precarious, ultimately a dangerous trap.
That room becomes such a powerful symbol, representing a temporary, imagined escape from the party's relentless reach, a brief return to personal freedom, autonomy, intimacy, a space to be themselves, even briefly.
But it's fragile.
Utterly. Its fragility constantly underscores their ultimate vulnerability, highlights the agonizing impossibility of true, lasting escape under totalitarianism. And the old furniture, the paperweight, they're more than props. They offer real psychological comfort, rooting them in a sense of pre-party normalcy beauty, connecting them to something real, human that the party tried to erase.
It's that yearning for a home that isn't watched. Historically, the room evokes those hidden safe houses, secret meeting points used by resistance movements during wartime, right? Against the Nazis, for example.
Absolutely. Orwell's 49 lens highlights the profound precariousness, the extreme risk involved in any act of defiance, however small, against an all-seeing state. A stark reminder that under such regimes, there's no true escape, only stolen, vulnerable moments.
So, contemporary U.S. parallels. Creating sanctuaries today.
Well, think about the creation of physical or digital safe spaces and community hubs, often for marginalized communities or dissenting voices, places where people can express themselves freely without fear of judgment or reprisal, serving a similar function of providing refuge.
Finding supportive communities.
And underground art or music venues.
Yeah.
Independent cultural spaces operating outside mainstream commercialism, often fostering alternative expression, community. Artistic havens away from corporate scrutiny.
Keeping culture alive outside the mainstream.
And a more nuanced parallel, discussions around home automation and privacy. People try to make their homes a private sanctuary using smart tech or designed to control their environment, but they grapple with the paradox that those same devices might be gathering data. A tension between wanting control and the reality of pervasive digital surveillance.
The smart home spying on you.
The evocative narration makes that room feel simultaneously like a precious haven and a dangerous trap, perfectly capturing the gripping contrast between fleeting joy and underlying dread. Orwell's insightful analysis of how hope persists even in deep despair creates a powerful emotional resonance. Really impactful chapter.
Definitely feels like a turning point, but a dangerous one. Okay, remember to like, subscribe, and share for more updates. Next up,
Chapter 5.
The Shadow.
Chapter 5. The Shadow Lengthens. This chapter is a chilling reminder of the party's omnipresent, merciless power. We see the unsettling disappearance of Syme.
The Newspeak expert, just gone.
Right. His sudden, inexplicable absence strongly implies he's been vaporized by the party, probably for his dangerous intellect, simply erased from existence as if he never was.
Unpersoned.
Exactly. Winston and Julia's affair continues amidst this growing dread. Their sanctuary feels ever more precarious, the world around them visibly darkens, and the party's preparations for Hate Week loom ominously.
That intensified period of propaganda and emotional manipulation. Yeah. Winston feels this increasing sense that their personal rebellion is ultimately futile, a small, doomed flicker. Yet he clings desperately to their love as his last hope, the only thing that feels real and worth fighting for.
The party's ruthlessness is truly laid bare here. Orwell relentlessly shows its absolute power, its cold, clinical efficiency in eliminating any potential threats. Regardless of position, intelligence, apparent loyalty, Syme's silent vanishing underscores this terrifying capability.
No one is safe.
No one. And in the face of such overwhelming hopelessness, the escalating menace, Love paradoxically remains the most profound, defiant act, a refusal to surrender one's inner world, one's emotional capacity to the party's total control. And the escalation during Hate Week powerfully illustrates the party's cyclical need to reinforce power through manufactured frenzy, creating external enemies, constantly needing a target for collective hatred.
That chilling act of vaporization.
Yeah.
It directly mirrors Stalin's purges, doesn't it?
Yeah.
People just vanishing, airbrushed from photos, removed from records.
Absolutely, as if they never existed. And Hate Week reflects those intense, orchestrated propaganda rallies, manufactured nationalistic fervor seen in totalitarian states, especially during wartime. Orwell's 49 warning resonated strongly with emerging Cold War fears of political disappearances, mass psychological manipulation by states.
So connections today in the U.S. vaporization, Hate Week.
Well, again, context is crucial, but consider instances of cancel culture and deplatforming. Not state-sanctioned, but individuals, especially public figures, can face severe professional social repercussions. Loss of employment, removal from social media, sometimes feeling like a sudden vanishing from public life, especially online. Reputations seemingly erased overnight.
The online world can be brutal.
And intensified political rhetoric, especially during election cycles or high polarization. Us versus them narratives intensify dramatically, reminiscent of Hate Week, often aiming to galvanize supporters against perceived enemies through fear and anger, stifling nuance.
Divisive.
And information silos. People consuming news almost exclusively from sources aligning with their existing beliefs, leading to amplified hate or distrust for the other side, a loss of shared understanding. Fertile ground for Hate Week-type sentiments to flourish, reinforcing division.
Trapped in the algorithm's feedback loop.
The chilling shift in narration, conveying the dread as sign vanishes, truly underscores the party's omnipresent danger, its merciless grip. Orwell's insightful analysis of how systemic fear crushes even subtle resistance amplifies that feeling of inevitable doom. Truly impactful and unsettling.
Makes your skin crawl. Okay, like, subscribe, share, everyone. Let's get to O'Brien.
Chapter 6, The Unveiling.
Or the trap.
Chapter 6, The Unveiling of O'Brien. This chapter is pivotal, incredibly tense. O'Brien, that powerful inter-party member Winston has long suspected, maybe hoped, was secretly rebellious, he makes a move.
A very subtle, calculated move.
Right. He hints at shared rebellious sentiments, creates this tantalizing flicker of hope. Then he invites Winston to his luxurious apartment, under the seemingly innocent pretext of lending him a new Newspeak dictionary. The perfect cover.
Winston's reaction is so complex, deeply conflicted, a potent mix of intense, almost desperate hope for an ally, juxtaposed with profound, gnawing suspicion. This could be an elaborate trap. He senses danger, yet desperately craves connection with a like-minded individual, a glimmer of organized resistance.
This is where Orwell masterfully builds suspense, ambiguity, forcing Winston and us to question O'Brien's true motives: ally, rebel, agent, provocateur. It plays on that profound human need for connection, shared belief, even facing extreme danger. It's this need that drives Winston's perilous decision to engage.
The hope is almost unbearable.
It is. And the chapter deepens that central question. Is true rebellion possible from within the party's highest ranks? Or is this an elaborate snare to entrap dissenters? The uncertainty is agonizing.
That deep uncertainty, the paranoia, it feels real. Historically, O'Brien's ambiguity reflects the tactics of double agents, informants, and real-world espionage, right? Wartime, oppressive regimes. You never knew who to trust.
Exactly. Betrayal could come from anywhere. Orwell's critique in 49 explored that profound psychological impact of divided loyalties, the pervasive paranoia in authoritarian states where trust is shredded. No one can truly be considered reliable.
So, contemporary U.S. parallels. Ambiguous figures, trust, betrayal.
Think about whistleblower situations. Complex, dangerous decisions faced by those exposing corruption or unethical practices from within powerful organizations, corporate or governmental. They face immense personal risk, uncertain outcomes, echoing Winston's dilemma of trusting a powerful insider.
High-stakes decisions.
And online catfishing, other digital deception, people creating fake personas to ensnare or manipulate others, highlighting the dangers of trusting perceived allies in deceptive, anonymous digital environments.
Trusting someone you only know online.
Risky. And a powerful parallel exists in cults and manipulative leaders, charismatic figures drawing followers by appearing to offer enlightenment, shared purpose, often leading to exploitation, control, suppression of thought once trust is established. The allure of belonging blinding people to danger.
The need to belong can be very strong.
The nuanced narration of O'Brien's cryptic words keeps you intensely guessing, just like Winston. You feel his desperate hope mixed with paralyzing fear. Orwell's insightful analysis into the dangers and psychological complexities of trust under oppression makes this a pivotal, incredibly tense moment. Truly gripping.
You're on the edge of your seat. Okay, quick reminder. Like, subscribe, share. Let's move towards the end of part 2.
Chapter 7, Remembering.
Chapter 7, Remembering What Was Lost. This chapter is profoundly emotional, deeply revealing. It underscores the true cost of living under the party. Winston and Julia have this somber, personal discussion about their inevitable capture, torture.
They know it's coming.
They seem to accept it.
Yeah.
In this grim reality, they make this solemn, heartbreaking vow, never to betray their love for each other, to hold on to that intimacy, their shared bond, even under extreme duress, to protect that one last piece of their humanity.
The ultimate internal resistance.
And this powerful commitment is tragically contrasted with Winston's recurring, vivid dream of his mother, deepening the connection between his personal loss and the party's systematic destruction of fundamental human bonds, of humanity itself.
What's deeply moving here is how Orwell positions love, even doomed love, as enduring resistance. Facing inevitable defeat, the party stripping away dignity, commitment to love, personal loyalty becomes the last bastion of the human spirit against a dehumanizing system.
It's all they have left.
And it powerfully illustrates the devastating personal toll of totalitarianism. The party doesn't just control minds and actions, it actively seeks to annihilate emotional connections, family bonds, individual history. Winston's dream underscores how memory, though painful, filled with loss, is crucial for maintaining identity, understanding the true cost of the party's reign, both pain and power.
It's heartbreaking. Imagining a world where family is purposefully destroyed. Historically, lost families, broken bonds.
Yeah.
It echoes the displacement, purges, forced separations in Stalinist regimes, post-war Europe, families torn apart by politics, war.
Exactly. Orwell's 49 perspective is a poignant lament for the erosion of fundamental humanity, the sanctity of personal relationships under oppressive systems. A powerful warning about the ultimate price societies pay for such pervasive control.
So, contemporary U.S. connections. Families separated, memory, trauma.
Well, consider the emotional lasting trauma of families separated by policy. Immigration policies at borders, mass incarceration, where state actions, intentionally or not, sever fundamental human bonds, profound separations with lasting consequences.
Deep societal wounds.
And how communities grapple with collective grief, strive to preserve the memory of loved ones lost to societal violence or public health crises. A collective act of remembrance, refusing to let stories be erased, mirroring Winston's fight against historical revisionism.
Remembering as resistance.
And the concept of intergenerational trauma, trauma passed down through generations from historical injustices, systemic oppression, highlighting the long-term impact on relationships, identity, how past wounds echo in the present through deep scars, societal patterns.
History's long shadow.
The profound emotional depth permeating this chapter, especially Winston's memories of his mother. Heart-wrenching, universally relatable. You feel his loss, and by extension, the larger loss for humanity. Orwell's insightful analysis into how regimes systematically destroy personal ties creates a deeply poignant, impactful moment. Truly resonates.
Deeply moving. Okay, final chapter of part 2 coming up. Please like, subscribe, and share.
Chapter 8, The Brotherhood.
Chapter 8, The Brotherhood and Forbidden Knowledge. This is it. The moment of immense tension Winston's been building towards, his desperate search for larger truth, organized resistance. We see Winston and Julia's fateful, highly dangerous visit to O'Brien's apartment.
The point of no return.
Feels like it. In this charged encounter, O'Brien seems to confirm his supposed rebellion, his apparent affiliation with the Brotherhood, that elusive secret resistance movement supposedly led by Goldstein, the party's arch-enemy.
The legendary resistance.
And as a sign of trust, a tool for their education, O'Brien gives Winston the forbidden book by Goldstein, The Theory and Practice of Oligarchical Collectivism, this massive, dense tome, potentially explosive.
Forbidden knowledge itself.
Winston and Julia then take a solemn oath, swearing allegiance to the resistance,
Yeah.
despite the lingering ambiguity around O'Brien's true motives, that crucial detail still haunting them, and us.
The stakes are dramatically heightened here. Orwell masterfully raises the tension, drawing Winston and Julia deeper into the conspiracy while simultaneously blurring the lines, ally or enemy. The power of forbidden knowledge is central. Goldstein's book symbolizes forbidden truth, intellectual resistance, offering a potential path to understanding the party's true nature, its history, its control mechanisms, a literal weapon of knowledge.
The book they've only heard whispers about.
And the nature of allegiance becomes critical. That solemn vow highlights the extreme commitment needed to fight such an all-powerful enemy, underscores the inherent terrifying risks of trust in a world built entirely on deception.
Trusting O'Brien is a huge gamble. Historically, this secret meeting recalls those clandestine networks of resistance fighters, intellectuals, saboteurs operate against oppressive regimes, right, like against the Nazis, risking everything.
Absolutely. Orwell's 49 Lens provides a powerful warning about false hopes, infiltration by state agents, the extreme lengths oppressive systems go to entrap dissenters. A sobering reminder. Even apparent allies might be part of a larger, insidious trap.
So parallels today. Forbidden knowledge, secret groups, trust.
Consider whistleblower leaks. The profound impact of classified documents leaked to the public, aiming to expose systemic issues, Pentagon Papers, WikiLeaks, Snowden disclosures. Direct parallels. These acts carry profound risks for leakers and publishers, but aim to bring forbidden knowledge to light.
Information the powerful want hidden.
And the use of encrypted communication, parts of the dark web by activists, journalists, individuals seeking to share information or organize movements outside mainstream surveillance. A modern way to access and share sensitive or forbidden information.
Digital resistance tools.
And the vital role of investigative journalism, uncovering hidden truths about powerful institutions, corporate or governmental, often facing immense pressure, threats. Modern-day truth seekers like Winston, trying to bring hidden knowledge to light, challenging established narratives.
Holding power accountable.
The intense narration of this pivotal meeting perfectly captures the suspense, tension, keeping you on the absolute edge of your seat. You feel the immense weight of Winston and Julia's decision, the hope intertwined with terrifying risks. Orwell's insightful analysis into the dangers, complexities of true rebellion, the blurred lines of trust when confronted with forbidden knowledge, masterfully portrayed, leaves you with so much to ponder.
Absolutely breathless by the end of that chapter. Outro. So, wow. We've journeyed through the harrowing, often bleak, but undeniably brilliant world of George Orwell's 1984.
Quite a journey.
Chapter by chapter, from Winston's first dangerous, defiant diary entry to the deceptive allure. The profound risks of his involvement with O'Brien and the Brotherhood. Along the way, we've seen how Orwell masterfully dissects these universal themes. Pervasive surveillance, the power of propaganda manipulating truth and language.
And that profound, undeniable human need for love, authentic connection, even facing absolute dehumanizing control.
What's truly fascinating, I think, is that Orwell didn't just write a captivating story. He crafted this prescient, enduring warning.
Absolutely. It's more than just a novel.
Every chapter, every scene, reinforces the idea that true, insidious power lies not just in brute force, but in controlling information, rewriting history, and maybe most terrifyingly, even shaping our most intimate thoughts and fundamental emotions.
Which naturally raises that incredibly important question for all of us. If truth can be so easily warped or erased, how do we individually and collectively truly know what's real? What becomes the basis of our reality?
And that's where it gets really interesting and personal for you, our listener. As we've explored through those contemporary U.S. examples, so many of Orwell's terrifying visions once maybe considered far-fetched.
Right, like science fiction.
They resonate chillingly with aspects of our world today. Echo chambers on social media, debates over historical narratives, struggles for digital privacy, the constant battle against disinformation. 1984 serves as this powerful, often uncomfortable mirror.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, Orwell challenges each of us to be profoundly vigilant. He forces us to question our sources, to actively protect our critical thinking, and to cherish our personal freedoms, especially the freedom to think independently, to remember accurately, and to connect authentically.
It's an urgent reminder, isn't it?
It is. That the fight for truth and individuality isn't a historical relic. It's an ongoing, vital responsibility, resting with each of us every single day.
So what does this all mean for you as you move forward? In a world just saturated with information, where narratives constantly shift, the line between fact and fiction feels increasingly blurred. Consider this thought, a profound paradox from Orwell himself. If ignorance is strength, then what is the true, maybe revolutionary strength of knowledge, of verified truth? And what profound responsibility does that place on each of us to relentlessly seek it, critically verify it, and courageously defend it against all attempts to obscure or erase it?
That is a powerful, essential question to mull over. What does it truly mean to know and to preserve that knowledge in a world that might subtly or overtly prefer you didn't? What small act of remembrance, what quiet act of critical inquiry might you engage in today to counter those forces seeking to control thought and truth?
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into George Orwell's 1984. It's really been an honor to unpack these layers and explore its enduring relevance with you.
We truly hope this discussion encourages you to revisit the text or maybe pick it up for the very first time and to keep asking those vital, often uncomfortable questions about our world. Until next time.